Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone across the globe joining us today. This is Bridget from Acquia. Today's webinar is Monetizing Insights with Experiential Commerce, Unlock Hyper-Focused Customer Engagement with Maggie Schroeder, who is a Product Marketing Manager at Acquia, Jim Biermeister, who is the Senior Business Development Director at Bounteous, and Lee Trotter, who is the Director of Pre-Sales Product Experience at Elastic Path. So today we are going to be walking through some brief introductions of our presenters and their companies, and then each of them will highlight and touch on what a day in the life is like for buyers today, how to craft your experiential commerce journeys, and how to unlock and monetize those focused customer engagements. And then finally, they will highlight some industry case studies, and then we'll close it out with some Q&A. So just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any audio issues, please send them in the Q&A tab and I will assist you. If you have any questions for the presenters, please submit them in the Q&A tab as well, and they will answer them at the end of the presentation. Slides in the recording of this webinar will be posted to acquia.com and also sent to you via email within the next few days. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Maggie.
Thanks, Bridget. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing great today. So I wanted to start by just introducing you all to Acquia. So bear with me if you're already familiar, but for those of you who aren't, we are the open source digital experience company. And our roots really come from Drupal and our founder and CTO, Dries, who is also the founder and leader of the Drupal open source project. I actually just joined 6 months ago, and I'm super excited to be part of such an innovative company that really actively contributes to the Drupal open source project. We have tons of Drupal experts in-house, as well as some core contributors that I've had the pleasure of working with thus far in my experience at Acquia. So Acquia has been in the business for 11 years. We have more than 900 employees. Again, happy to be part of this family. And we have thousands of customers, right? And some of the most successful brands in the world. And customers are really our North Star, and we measure the success of Acquia by our customers and how successful they are. And we're always really proud to boast about our 94% customer satisfaction rating, right? That's very exciting for us. And lastly, I just want to emphasize that here at Acquia, we are really focused on being the most innovative open source digital experience. We really are focusing our investments in our R&D organization so that we can help our customers bring digital experiences to life. And on to Elastic Path.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Trotter, and I've been with Elastic Path for about 5 years now. I came in as we really did our drive into the market with our industry-leading headless API Cortex, right? And that's the important piece of what our product is we've taken the head off of commerce, and we've gotten rid of the full stack, and we've allowed you to use any front end you want. And to that end, you know, coupling with a company like Acquia allows you to control your customer experience in exactly the way that you need to do it. Acquia, with Drupal and with their additional products, is well suited to giving the customer exactly the experience that you want to give them. But with an EP back end, it allows you to maintain those business rules that you have there, right? So you get your same pricing, the same business application. Initiatives are all happening across all the touch points that we're engaging with. And the proof that we have that is with some of our leading brands. We've got T-Mobile, we've got Intuit, we've got Carnival Cruise Lines, just to name a couple of the top ones, who are all out there using our platform in this type of mode. We've got upwards of $60 billion in customer revenue that passes through the Elastic Path product at various places around the world. And as you can see, we're globally serving all of our customers in all of their regions that are out there. Directly, we have over a 55% R&D growth last year. Some of that is even working directly with Acquia. We've done joint hack days with them just to see how we can better integrate the two companies together, not companies, sorry, but the products together, and see where how we can make that a more seamless experience. We've had our developers speaking at the Acquia booth at DrupalCon, for instance, so the very tight relationship there, and the two products are very complementary to each other. So over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, so Jim Biermeyer here from Bounteous. I'm a Director of Business Development with Bounteous, joined last December. And Bounteous is really an insights-driven digital experience agency. We create big picture digital solutions to help our customers deliver transformational brand experiences. We are one of the premier Google marketing platform partners in North America, where we connect data and experiences to drive measurable results. We are also a strategic Elastic Path partner with one of the most robust Elastic Path practices in the Americas. And we've delivered Elastic Path in very large digital transformation projects with multiple technology integrations at play, as well as creating commerce-enabled experiences that bridge the online as well as in-person consumer engagement strategies. Also, as a long-standing Acquia preferred partner, we've helped customers get the most out of their Acquia investments. We have 12 certified Acquia Grandmasters. I love that term, Grandmasters, and over 79 certifications on the platform, more than any other real partner in the world, and have led the strategy and integration between Google Analytics and GA360 with Acquia Lift and Journey. Next, Maggie, I think Maggie's going to highlight kind of how do we begin sort of crafting these journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Lee. And actually, before we hop into the full presentation, I do want to say that Jim, Lee, and I will all be attending Acquia Engage this November from the 11th to the 13th. It's in New Orleans. Need I say more? But we'll have a little bit more of a discussion about this towards the end of the presentation, so stay tuned and Bridget will walk you through all those details. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lee.
Great, thanks very much. So what we're going to look at first is the day in the life of your buyer. And we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about the B2B and B2C buyer, because as we progress, they become closer and closer in how you interact with them, but they still have very distinct use cases that you need to address separately. So we'll see in this next slide here, the linear traditional journey, where this is much more of what you've seen in the past, right? Where your buyer becomes aware of your product through some means. Maybe it's a magazine ad even, maybe it's TV, but it's very passive usually, right? And then that goes on to the consideration of your product. They've decided that they want it, so now they have the intent to purchase it. They have to figure out how to purchase it. Older channels, the traditional channels, there wasn't a lot of options. If they're a B2C buyer, they're probably walking into a retail store and picking it up and walking out. If they're a B2B buyer, there's a few more options. They might fax an order in, they might email or call their account rep, or they might go into the store distributor and do the counter service there and just pick it up directly, right? And then there's the retention and advocacy, and ultimately, the B2C retention is, some of the more traditional loyalty programs and just, continuing with the advertising. And on the B2B side, we're dealing with your account rep, and that's really the only active retention that existed in the past, right? And then if we go forward now and we look at what that path looks like today, there's a lot more influencers that happen on here. So at the awareness level, your potential customer becomes aware of your product, but how they become aware of it could be much different. There's the media that could happen before, but now they're hearing about it through forums. They're doing Google searches on, a product that they need that fits a specific need. They don't even know what product yet that they want. They just are looking for the goal that they need to solve, and Google is returning results within that category. So you've got to be the top of those search results for them to be sure that you're the one that they're clicking on first. Whoever goes to Google search page to, right? No one, right? So, then there's the online ads. If they're browsing on Amazon, but you have a product that meets that same need, you want to advertise to them in that Amazon window or on their way to Amazon. You want to catch them before they get to a competitor's website. As you move into the consideration area, the customer's now decided that they want the product, but who are they buying it from? You're still having to win them over, right? So they're looking at blogs and they're looking at peer reviews, and there's so many other ways that this can be influenced, but you've got the ability now to actively influence it more so because you can help control some of that buying experience. And the buying experience starts long before they've gotten to your website, right? The advertising that they're seeing before they get there. You need to put the right product in them when they're browsing industry review websites, for instance, to be sure that they're seeing your name first before they're seeing your competitors' names. As they get to the intent piece, now it's like, how do they buy? They're considering all the different ways, right? They're going to compare them to other products, right? So you're getting into the definite, I'm going to buy this, but who am I buying it from and how am I going to buy it? And when they come up to the purchase option, they're at the same type of levels that they had before. B2C buyers can go into the store and still buy it, but they can also order it online. They can order it directly from you. They can order it from your distributor or your reseller, but it's ultimately your product that you want, and you're part of that chain now. Even though it might not be you that they're buying it from, they're buying it for you. So they're buying it your product. So that means that you need to be influencing how they buy that, and you want that closer relationship with them. In the B2B world, it's the same sort of thing. It's just a different channel, right? So now they're buying it through their corporate credit card at their office, right? But maybe they're also browsing it at home. So you don't necessarily want to lose the connection to them just because they've walked out of their office and now they're at home. You still want them thinking about your products that they're going to buy. And then ultimately, now you get up to your retention and advocacy, right? There's a lot more activity here because you have your loyalty programs that are traditional, but you also have what new items that you're going to promote. You know what your buyers' habits are now because you've got a more consolidated omni-channel view of them. It gives you the ability to show them products that are actually relevant for that next purchase that they're going to make. Maybe they're just rebuying more of them, or maybe they're buying something that's more advanced, right? So you want to be able to put that right product in front of them the next time they're on your website, not something that's completely irrelevant to them, right? And so if we go on to the next slide here, right, we can see today that the research has shown that customers average, 5 to 6 touch points, right? With 50% of those customers using 4 touch points regularly. Like, let's just think about that for a second. Your B2B buyer starts in the office. They put together a potential quote that they need to buy on their office computer. They go home that evening, and a lot of people, they still do some work at home, so they pull out their iPad and they're maybe catching up on some things, and they're adding to that. So they're still working there. So there's touch point number 2. The next day, their B2B company, they're out in their field somewhere, right? Maybe it's a construction site, and they're talking to their people out there, and they're continuing on with that order. They're adding it there. So there's the mobile app that they're using there. So you're up to 3 touch points already, and those are just the traditional ones, right? We haven't even talked about all the non-traditional IoT types of things that can come into play here. And what that means is companies that have the strongest omni-channel experiences that allow the customers to have the frictionless experience of purchasing have an 89% higher retention rate. And it's quite simple. If you make it easy for me to buy, I'm going to buy from you again and again. If you make it difficult for me to buy, then I might as well go to somewhere else that might even be easier to buy from. But if it's more effort, then I'll go somewhere else, right? And that's becoming more and more important because time is money. And if you save me time, you're also saving me money. So now I'm going to pass it over to Maggie. And, so just before I give it over to Maggie, what this ultimately means is it's experiential commerce. And this is, there's a few key pillars here, right? And this is gaining experience over that customer experience. Everything I talked about is you want to help control the customer experience as much as you can. You want it to be an active influence to the customer. You don't want them to be passively influenced anymore. You want to deliver that unified, engaging retail experience. You want them to be immersive. You want the retail to just be an extension of the digital experience, really. The products and services from any channel, that's your frictionless point. It doesn't matter where the customer is, the store is with them all the time. If I'm a customer and I'm in that construction site and I have a blocker on my construction, I have 4 guys sitting around and I need a part, I need to be able to order it right there. I don't want to have to go back to my office and fax an order in. I want to be able to, on my phone, pull it out, enter a few key things, and the part is on its way, and I can give it an exact delivery time as to when it's going to be there, and work can continue again. And that's the next one. It's the right information and the right offers at the right time, right? So that you can know where your customers are. And that continues on to making that transition seamless, so that there's no stopping progress and there's no stopping of work anymore just because something is not where it needs to be. So now I'll pass it over to Maggie.
Great, thanks so much, Lee. So I'm super excited of how Lee set this up, and I really think that I just want to point out that this happens every day in your everyday life, right? I just went through a very personalized commerce experience just this morning. Got out of bed, I'm walking to work, and I log into, and this is a company that I think does this really well, my Starbucks application. Pull it up, and they've got all my favorite items already preloaded into my past orders section. I click order the same coffee. I always get cold brew every single day, even in the cold. Us Bostonians are crazy like that. So ordered that cold brew. 5 minutes later, I arrive at the Starbucks nearest to my work that they already knew where I was because of location settings. Picked up my coffee and walked into the office. Easy as that. And again, it's super important to customize these experiences based on the audience that you are delivering this experience to, right? I tried to introduce my mother to the Starbucks application, I'd say like 2 months ago, and she was not having it. She wants to walk in, she wants to talk to someone, she wants to see the full menu in front of her, she wants to take her time, right? I'm all about speed. She lives up in Vermont. She's all about taking it easy and actually having an interaction with someone. But really, again, crafting your experiential commerce journey is about catering to all these different personas. And we really see that in the data, right? So this isn't just something that we're seeing, we're experiencing. It's something that McKinsey and Walker have done studies on, and they're seeing this across the industry. So not just B2C, the example I gave you, but also B2B. And that it's becoming increasingly important to make sure that we're informed of who we're providing products to, what their needs are, and making sure that their experience when they're purchasing these goods and services, that experience is personalized towards them. And this is super important in increasing customer satisfaction, right? Like, I'm happy ordering on an app. I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to keep my headphones in, pick up my coffee, and go. My mother wants to talk to someone, on the other hand. It also lifts revenue, right? Boston is known, and if anyone online doesn't know this, as a big Dunkin' city. I prefer Starbucks just for that ease of use, right? And it also is lowering the cost of serving customers. Because of this online app, there are tons of people getting their coffees in the morning because this is just so easy. It's such an easy delivery, right? So with that, I'm actually going to pass it on to Lee to continue talking about hyper-focused customer engagement and what that looks like.
Thanks very much, Maggie. So it's a series of blocks. That's what the experiential commerce is it's building blocks of what you need to give your customers. So what you saw before with the linear pattern, we now can take that and we can put it into blocks, right? And you have your awareness and you have your customer context and your intent. And in each of these blocks, you can do things to influence your customer's behavior there. Your awareness is you're telling them about your product, but your idea is to get them to the next block, the next flow, which is getting them interested in your product. They're not just aware of your product, they're now interested in your product. And then once they're interested in your product, they're intent on purchasing, right? And this is the idea that Maggie was just talking about with Starbucks, is the intent to purchase is now in the app, right? It's the compelling experience of it makes it easier for me to do it, right? And then you actually hit the purchase, and you've made that purchase seamless. It's remembering your credit card information, for instance, and it's moving onward, right? And it's very seamless there. And then as that purchase happens, it's remembering what your orders and your preferences were, and it's doing behavioral analysis. Oh, you're always ordering the cold brew, even in the winter. So therefore, in the winter, I'm not going to switch to offering you a hot coffee. I know you're still going to order cold brew in the winter. So it's doing that behavioral analysis. So then the next time that purchase happens, as your customer dynamic and knowledge of them improves, we can see in this next slide here, it just builds on those existing building blocks. And now you can get into a buyer profile segmentation. So as an example, maybe Maggie is now in the cold brew only segment for Starbucks. So instead of offering a hot coffee in the winter, maybe they're going to offer different cold brew options as a cross-sell to give her a different option. Okay, I know you're still going to buy cold brew, but hey, maybe I've got this other new product I want to kind of show you, and that might entice you to try it. I'm not going to not make the old one available to purchase. It's still first because I know you're going to buy that. But I want to increase my upsell and cross-sell opportunity with new opportunities in there. And I'm going to give you that targeted experience. So you know what? Maybe I've got some cold options for Halloween and Thanksgiving as those are coming up. Let's put that in there, right? And you'll see those, even though it's getting colder, I'm still giving you those cold options versus, someone like me who likes warm drinks in the winter and actually even in the summer. I'm going to be continuously targeted with the hot drinks in the winter. I'm never, ever going to see a cold brew coffee in my profile because, quite frankly, I don't like them. So in that way, I could be standing right next to Maggie in Boston on the same day in the same Starbucks and have two completely different experiences that are tailored to exactly our needs. And we're both just going to go buy because it's exactly what we both wanted. And it's putting the right offer in front of the right person at the right time, right? And that's that simple purchase. And then that moves on to increased customer data enhancement and increased behavioral analysis that's then going to increase that hyper-focus of what your customers want. And in the next slide here, you see that this just continues to build upon those same blocks. So in this slide, again, it's getting smaller now because we're refining what our customer behavior profile looks like. So that segmentation can become even more granular. The cross-sell opportunity becomes even more refined so that instead of like, oh, I have to show you 5 products, you might pick one of them. I'm now down to showing you one product and I know you're going to buy it because it's so well targeted to exactly what you as a person want. And that gives you that targeted experience and I get to that purchase and that conversion much faster. And in addition to that, I'm giving you a much better experience. So I'm upping my bottom line because I'm getting more sales from you, but you're also getting a much broader experience that you're enjoying even more because now it's not just the same coffee every day. Hey, I'm getting coffees I like and I've got a much broader option. So maybe when I'm in the mood for something different, I'm not walking to a different store. I'm going to Starbucks and I'm just getting something else in my repertoire of things that Starbucks has introduced me to that they know I'm going to like in those cases, right? And so now I think we're going to pass this to Jim to tell you a little bit about how that can actually be done.
Thanks, Lee. So as a B2C or B2B brand, how do you manage to unlock and monetize these types of engagement strategies? How do you ensure your organization is take advantage of the data to return those highly relevant, engaging experiences? We see kind of three key foundational pillars or solutions that contribute to delivering these types of strategies. First, you're going to take personalized content, delivering engaging experiences that are crafted, taking advantage of what you know about the customer's context. So in the example that Maggie and Lee touched on, one's in a line at Starbucks, maybe one's on their mobile phone doing the remote ordering, even if they're in the context of in the store. So with Acquia, that digital experience platform, they'll provide lift for personalization and journey to act on the customer's intent, delivering that next best action to drive higher customer engagement. That may be, a quick checkout. I'm always ordering cold brew, or it may be, sometimes Lee may order a breakfast sandwich with his hot coffee. They may cross-sell a breakfast sandwich, those types of scenarios. So secondly, by providing your customers this seamless means to transact at any step in these journeys, across those interactions are really critical. And Elastic Path provides that capability wherever your customers are in their journey by delivering those robust monetization capabilities around the cart, the checkout, pricing, promotions, and offers by an API to make the purchase possible on any touch point, whether it's a native app, whether it's a mobile app, whether it's a call center or the web. And then thirdly and foundationally is that measurement strategy. Through Google's marketing platform, Google will allow you to take advantage of those insights through analytics into your buyer's engagement, with content and conversions, so you see the next experiences you deliver are more likely to hit those marks. Now, Maggie's going to dive a little bit deeper on the first pillar, kind of the customer context and personalization components.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jim. I really appreciate it. So today, I know that Jim mentioned Acquia Cloud Lift and Acquia Cloud Journey, but today I'm going to focus on Lift, right? So Lift is the only personalization solution optimized for Drupal. And again, this is all aligned with Acquia's goal of bringing digital experiences to life for the world's most ambitious brands. Right. So what is Acquia Lift and what does it do? Well, it helps to deliver personalized content to both known and unknown visitors in real time. It helps marketers with campaign management, easily tracking and managing all your campaigns from, again, a single UI. This is a huge bonus for Acquia Lift, right? It's a single tool, a single platform for delivering content in the context throughout the customer's journey. So again, making sure that those experiences are personalized for each individual that is looking with the intent to purchase your product. Lastly, there's a segment builder. And again, this is about segmenting those visitors, making sure that you're taking different criteria into account when you're providing these experiences. And then analytics, right? Those deep data-driven decisions based on visitor behavior that helps to inform this whole process. And the feedback we've gotten from customers, right, is that Lift is incredibly intuitive for marketers to build on top of robust back-end services for IT. And marketers are able to easily use the interface, it utilizes drag and drop technology, and to create campaigns quickly without relying on IT. And I love to boast about, I know we talked about Starbucks, but one of our customers, Wendy's, actually does this incredibly well. And I'm a big bacon fan, so whenever I walk near Wendy's, I open up the website, and guess what the first thing I see is? It's the Baconator. And it's no mistake on their part that they're presenting that kind of information to us. If you want to read more about Wendy's, again, feel free to check out our website. There's a great case study on how they utilize Lift. But moving on, I'd love to pass it off to Lee, who is going to walk you through the next pillar, which is seamless monetization of multi-channel experiences.
Great. So this pillar is where Elastic Path comes into play. And this is the bread and butter of your commerce transaction. Everything in front of Elastic Path is all about the customer experience, right? It's Acquia serving touch point, it's Acquia presenting the right option to the customer in front of it. But ultimately, when you get to the monetization of that, we're the transaction layer. And so regardless of whether you're on your phone, your mobile, you're at a POS terminal somewhere, you're doing a voice-enabled device, Elastic Path and our Cortex API allows you to have that same customer experience regardless of what that touch point is. And what I mean by that is whether that customer is standing in front of a POS terminal or that they're on the web or they're talking to their voice device, they're getting the exact same price. They're getting the same offer. So when the Baconator is shown, it's being shown for the same price regardless of where it is. And maybe it's not just the price. Maybe it's also the promotions that go with it. Buy one, get one free, for instance, or upsell to a, added on to a combo, something like that. And you're getting that same offer regardless of where it is. So now, before Maggie wants to leave to go out, she decides she wants a Baconator on her way there. So she does her voice device and says, hey, add a, do a Baconator order, and it offers her the promotion for a combo. And she goes, no, it's not necessary. I just want the Baconator. And then when she gets to the store offers an upsell again, but she gets that same upsell, or maybe it's an upsell with an additional promotion because they're trying to get that last, oh, you're about to convert here, so you know what, let's entice you a little bit more. Elastic Path can drive what all of those are. Elastic Path can drive that, it's 10% off if through this channel, 20% off through that channel, or it's 15% off regardless of the channel. All of those sort of things are driven out of the business logic within our API. So what does that ultimately do for you? It gives you these 6 things, right, as some of the core pieces, right? It accelerates your time to market because you're no longer having to put business logic into your front ends, which means you're not repeating it in every location that you put out on the front end. Your front end is essentially a presentation layer at this point. It fosters the innovation because you can very quickly add on a new touch point. We have a reference chatbot within ElasticPath that you can easily embed into an Acquia-based website, which, you know, it's essentially something that was very simple. It was written in about 2 weeks here as a full functional reference experience because it didn't have to worry about any business logic because that's all handled in Cortex. The complexity is reduced. You don't have to worry about conflicting business rules now. All of that orchestration is handled by ElasticPath for how those come together. And then obviously that creates that unified selling experience, that omni-channel that I spoke of before, where you've got that higher retention rate around 89%, because you've got that unified omni-channel experience, and it's a dynamic experience. So coupled with Acquia, with Lift, you're able to present this in a truly dynamic, personalized experience. And of course, the final thing is that because we're a evolutionary API as opposed to a versioned API, you never have to worry about backwards compatibility. Everything just adds on to the API. Whenever it gets versioned and upgraded, you can extend it, and your front ends don't actually have to be upgraded immediately. It makes things much simpler, much faster, much easier time to market to handle that sort of thing. So now I'm going to pass it back to Jim, and who's going to talk about pillar number 3.
Yeah, so finally, pillar 3 really leverages, you know, that data from Google, that quantitative data and the qualitative analysis that your design thinkers are going to do in combination with Acquia and ElasticPath. We take that kind of guesswork out of the decision making and work on optimizing those highest value moments in your customer's journey. We focus those design expertise on the highest value moments to craft journeys that will deliver impact. So bringing that hyper-focused customer engagement to life using Acquia, ElasticPath, and Google to help your customers optimize their marketing spend by identifying personas and the key steps in the journey with the greatest return. Let me touch on an actual example, oversimplified example, but on how these solutions, this holistic solution kind of seamlessly orchestrates a hyper-focused customer engagement and kind of bring it to life for you. So in this example, Acquia delivers the customer experience, ElasticPath the monetization, and Google the data and analytics, and Bounteous will deliver the expertise in executing that holistic solution. So Google provides, in this example, the insights to personalize the advertising and marketing messages, the entry point to the funnel. We take these insights from Google to categorize the content and develop a content-based attribution model to understand which content is most influential. By beginning to conduct experiments within Acquia, we find the combinations of content that work best, ultimately initiating our design focus around the most influential steps in that journey, shifting those marketing spends where they are the greatest ROI. Maggie, I think we'll now kind of highlight some industry insights and representative use cases of customers who began delivering on hyper-focused customer engagement and monetization.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. So yeah, we are going to walk through some industry use cases, but first, you know, I wouldn't be in product marketing if I didn't show some industry data to you first before we jump into this. So I do want to just highlight, you know, throughout this whole conversation, I think it's become fairly obvious, I hope, to those of you who are tuned in, that, you know, having these personalized and very engaging experiences it's incredibly important to successful B2B and B2C interactions, and ultimately B2B or B2C sales. And we're seeing this trend of executives in B2B companies really focusing on this customer experiences, making them memorable, and decision makers, you know, preferring these self-service tools for reordering. Again, going back to that coffee example we gave in the beginning. And lastly, you know, there's a reason for all this, right? And beyond that, you know, we're seeing huge 15 trillion again in today's value of these gains in smart automation and digitization trends, right? So with that, we do have some customer examples of customers who are really executing and making these changes and being innovative in the market that we'd love to share with you. And the first is an Acquia example, and I've pasted the bit.ly link in the corner if you want to read more. But AMD, if you have never heard of them, they're a global semiconductor company, huge company, huge amount of revenue per year, and they power millions of devices around the world. And beyond that, they're not just powering you know, B2B interactions, right? It's also B2C. And that's something that a lot of people don't know. So when Acquia and AMD first started working together, AMD had around 30 layouts and tons of different content types. And they were trying to consolidate all of that to make it easier for their content producers to make product pages that were catered to the customer experience. And so what Acquia helped AMD do was to consolidate those 30 layouts into 12 content types using Drupal 8 and ultimately accelerate the Drupal 8 development and delivery to match a major product launch and execute 40 product pages that were all pushed live, again, in time to support this launch. And they saw just from this interaction of using Acquia Cloud and Acquia Lightning, their shop conversion went up 200%. And something to emphasize, right? Again, if we're focusing on the customer experience today, something that really grinds my gears is those form fills online, right? So something AMD did is that they dramatically reduced their form fill-ins, right? They decreased that by 10%, lower than the industry average. So it's a lot easier for customers and prospective customers to convert on their site, which again led to this shop conversion that went up by 200%. So if you want to learn more, again, check out that bit.ly link. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lee with a nice healthcare example for you guys.
Great. So we have a large healthcare customer who develops medical and research devices that are used in hospitals, right? So think about getting your blood pressure or your temperature taken, things like that. Those are all electronic devices. That's the area they're in. And what they saw and what they needed is they recognized that their devices are all smart devices at the end of the day, right? Most of them today can connect to a network. And where they're looking at is how can they better serve their customers. So they're B2B, they're providing services to hospitals and doctors' offices and things like that. And right now you've got highly paid nursing staff, for instance, that are going in and they're just reordering consumable items. And I mean, that is not the best use of their time. So one of the things that's ultimately driving their decision to go headless is to be able to enable their devices to do this for them. So you have a device, it knows how many times it's taken your temperature, it knows how many of those disposable sleeves have been used, and it knows when it needs more. So it might not order directly and do a complete order, but it can build up a cart essentially and say, this is what I need. And then all of those get consolidated together. And now they go to a department whose sole purpose is purchasing. And they can ensure that they're ordering and they're getting the best supplies from the best cases. And you've removed your highly paid medical staff and you put them back in front of patients, for instance, right? And this is better utilizing their time. On the customer side, it's better utilizing it for everyone, but on the vendor side as well, they're now able to provide a higher level of service to their customer, and they're able to give lower inventory levels and increase their sales stream, because now things are happening in a more prescriptive way, because now inventory levels can be better managed, right, without having that manual intervention as much, right? And that gives the ability to deliver that across the board. You know, as more medical practitioners take this on, it then allows the scaling and to go up. And you've still got, of course, your traditional methods of your online buying experience or your physical account representatives that are in there, and this is just that additional channel that further simplifies and makes that buying flow frictionless for them. And then we'll look at our next case study here. and this is actually Republic Services. And you're probably asking yourselves, what does waste management have to do with experiential commerce? And to be honest, this is an amazing use case that they had. They're a leading U.S. waste management provider, right? So if you're in any of the cities that they serve, you've seen their trucks driving around, and they do everything from household garbage pickup, which is their B2C business, to B2B business for restaurants where they've got the waste containers there, or they've got large buildings where they deal with all the waste there. And what they have to do, what they found is they had a huge burden on their call center, right? Whenever someone moves, they had to phone in and deal with a customer service rep just to set up new garbage service, right? So that was one of their first use cases, was moving their B2C business into the online space and allowing a new customer to set up an account and set their delivery day, set how much service they needed. Is it 1 can? Is it 2 cans? When is recycling being picked up? And do all of that without talking to a single person. And that then drives down their call center costs, and it improves their customer experience because now you don't have to talk to a person. You can just, you can be on the train on the way to work commuting, and you can set up your service because you've just moved in. You've got so many things to do. You don't want to spend time waiting on the phone. And then they just continue to expand out in that whole B2C model with the, okay, now you can change your service, you can add to it, you can remove items from it. So it just, you don't have to do everything in that one big bang that's been traditionally done. It can also be very prescriptive and phased approach as to this. Now that's the B2C side. On the B2B side, it's all powered through Elastic Path as well, and it's a very similar set. So you've got perhaps a franchisee owner that owns 5 restaurants in an area. They want to set up disposal services for 5 restaurants. They don't want to set up 5 individual accounts. They want to set up one account. They want volume discounts. They want to be able to manage it all from one location. And now Elastic Path can provide that as well. But their buying experience can be a completely different experience because they're coming in as a B2B buyer, but ultimately it's connecting to the same Elastic Path backend through the same API, driving the same business logic. But their segment that we mentioned before is a B2B buyer, and maybe it's even a B2B restaurant buyer, and the services that are going to be presented to them are going to be different than the services that are presented to, say, a convenience store owner who owns 4 or 5 convenience stores, because you need different garbage disposal services in both of those verticals. And that's the type of experience that we can give to a company like Republic Services so that they can have a really personalized experience, because there are choices that are out there. They don't have to use Republic Services in many cases, right? So this is what's making it much simpler for everyone there. And at this point, I'll pass it back to Bridget.
Yes, thank you so much, Maggie, Lee, and Jim. As Maggie highlighted in the beginning of this presentation, Acquia Engage is coming up on November 11th through 13th in New Orleans. And this is an annual customer conference designed to showcase the creative and forward-thinking digital experiences that Acquia customers and partners are creating today. And we are offering a discount code for $200 off ticketed price for existing customers and those who are evaluating Acquia. And the promo code is on the screen. It's Get Engaged. And if you want more information, you can visit engage.acquia.com. And now we're going to hop into the Q&A. If you have questions, please submit them in the Q&A tab. And first question we have is, you talk a lot about customers expecting commerce at every touch point, but how many companies are actually doing that?
Okay, so I'll take this one. So one of our current customers, Gallo Wines, they very similar to Republic in the sense of they needed that experiential commerce experience for their customer base. And what they wanted was to be able to take not just their online store, but extend that store into their tasting rooms, right? And they wanted to be able to have a customer start the experience online, book a tasting room session. They go into the tasting room. When they're in their tasting room, the tasting room knows who they are. They know their profile. They know perhaps what they bought in the back previously from online. So they can, oh, you like a red Merlot that's light in flavor, let's try this one. And so they can have a very personalized experience in person there in the tasting room. And the customer finds maybe 2 or 3 wines that they like, And right there at that point of sale terminal, they can check out and they can do that order. But then they've designed it so take 2 bottles with you now, we'll ship the other 6 to you so that you don't have to actually carry them. You know, perhaps you're here on a family vacation or something like that, so you don't want to have to carry 6 or 8 bottles of wine back to the hotel with you. We'll just take care of that shipping for you. But then, so that's where they're integrating to the POS terminal. And then when the person goes back home, they've got that, what they previously ordered in their account, and they know what's available there. And they can reorder that. They can get other cross-sell recommendations. They can go to a different tasting room within the Gallo network, and they can get that same experience, and maybe it's with different other recommended products, right? So that's where that multi-touch point has come into play there, and specifically that's with the Gallo POS system, but that POS system can give them much more experience than just simply checking out and taking money.
Okay, great. So we have one more question. What are the different categories that you can personalize by?
Great. Thanks, Bridget. I'll actually take that one. So I think it's really important to address this question by first talking about how, and this might seem fairly intuitive, but a lot of our customers take personalization from a crawl, walk, run approach. And so I won't go into too much detail. I'm happy to follow up. But in the crawl stage, right, this is all about gathering information about your customer. So some things that you might personalize by are location, maybe by specific marketing campaigns targeted at that persona, how frequently this person is visiting and interacting with your experience, and then also what device are they using? Is it mobile? Is it an iPad? Is it a laptop? So that's really the crawl stage. At the walk stage, we'll see customers increasingly use browsing behavior. So, how are they interacting with your content? How many pages are viewed? Any known information from form fills that might have been gathered through gated content. And then also completed events, right? Someone goes, watches a webinar. Obviously, you're going to take that into account while your personalized content that you deliver to those customers. And further, it's again that run stage, and that's a combination of all of those different categories that I just discussed, looking at cross-channel behavior, and also integrating with your CRM. So again, it's really about taking that approach and starting from ground zero and building it up. And we actually have a great session at Engage from one of our customers that will actually be discussing how they actually went about. They're currently just entering the walk stage. So they talk about all of the data that they collected from all their different customers that are engaging with their content and how they categorize those different personas. And it's going to be a really great session. So definitely check out that Engage link. It'll be a really great session.
All right, that is all we have time for today. Thank you all again for attending our webinar. As I said previously, slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted to acquia.com and also sent to you via email within the next few days. And if you have any additional questions, please send them to marketing@theacquiateam.com. Thank you and have a great day.